many masters and doctoral students. She has earned multiple prestigious awards and accolades in her professional career including the Homi Baba Award, Raja Ramana Fellowship, etc. To name a few. She superannuated in 2016 after a successful career inning spanning about 35 years at BARC. She still continues to contribute, pursuing her academic interests with great passion and sincerity. So let's welcome the chairperson of this session, Dr. Mrs. Saswati Roy, online. Over to you, madam, for conducting this session.
Thank you, Paramjit. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, for this nice introduction. And I know it's very difficult for persons to keep awake after such a nice lunch. But I'm sure, or I can assure you, that IWSA has designed this session in such a way that you all will enjoy. And this session, as Paramjit said, that this is on rebalance the resource, water, air, and land. Thus, all three resources are natural resources. This we take from nature and use it with required processing, after required processing. And these are essential for us. We go on using them. And as all our previous speakers said, that this type of indiscriminate use of this resources without recycling or renewing, we will really come into a trouble. So as the stock will get deteriorated and our conditions will be poorer. So in this condition, this rebalance is an important word for all the resources. Now, if we consider about the water, you will see that India is the world's largest groundwater user, consuming 230 cubic kilometers per year, which is over a quarter of the global total requirement. Whereas existing Indian legal framework does not recognize groundwater as a common pool resource. And there is no stringent rules and regulations for this groundwater utilization properly to maintain a sustainable resource. So there comes the need for we, the citizens or the engineers work. And our first speaker, this Kalpana Ramesh, she is working on this field. She is a water warrior. Presently, she is head water Initiative-SAHE. She will be talking on the challenge of water conservation. Though professionally, she is an interior designer, passionately connected to the water management problems. She has used various techniques like rainwater harvesting, along with lake and whale restorations and conservations through her current social startup, the Rainwater Project. More we will listen from her. And the second one is air. This air, there are many impurities or pollutants which need to be cleaned up at a proper level. But at this moment, the most important is reduction of carbon dioxide. As we know, we have committed for the near zero in 2070. So there comes our second speaker, Professor Vivek Palchitwar, is a fellow of Royal Society of Chemistry. And he, along with his group, is working on the nanomaterial synthesis with controlled shape and morphology and their application as nanocatalyst to tackle the climate change. Presently, he will be talking on nanocatalyst to combat climate change, that is CO2 capture and conversion. Our third item is land, and on that, we are going to have Dr. Jayashree Sanwal, are basically a nature-loving geologist with a specialization on what we can say that cave natural investigation of the caves and connectivity with those minerals, materials, along with the climate change. So with this small introduction, I now request Paramjit to show our biodata of Kalpana, and I request Kalpana to take over the floor for her lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to share my screen first. Thank you for the. Can you all see my screen? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, visible. Make it full screen, ma'am?
Yes, I'm doing it. So, thank you for this great opportunity to speak. I know that there are many stalwarts here, and what they have done is very profound. The work I have done for water, I would say, is a very common sense thing to do for any of us, and we've never focused on it. So my journey started with, moving back from US and living in the city of Hyderabad, living on tankers for more than 5-6 months in a year. And how do I become a sustainable home was the first thought that came. And once I built that sustainable home, which is sustainable for water, that's when I thought I should spread it to the community, then my own clients and my design practice. And how did I take it forward? And today to be called a water warrior is true. But 15 years ago, I didn't think like this. I was just another citizen focused in my work or trying to win awards in my own design arena. But how did this thing affect me and what is the journey? So today what I would like to share is my journey, because you would all relate to this like a story, like why did I get into water conservation and why is it so important to me today? So I call it the challenge of water conservation because it's still a challenge, but I'm trying to attempt to make a change in this space. So this first picture that you all see is something that you would see in, it could be any part of the city, in any city across India. And we often look at these garbage dump and we complain or we send a tweet or put it to the authorities, or just often just frustrated that we can't do anything about it, but we live around such, places which is full of garbage dump. But the next picture will allow you to know what was underneath this. That was the step well right underneath this pile of garbage. The first day that when I looked at this pile of garbage, many people there told me that they were going to make a parking lot out of it. And I could see bits and pieces of a beautiful step well underneath. It took me 3 months to convince the government to start opening it up. And I signed an MOU with the government, got people on board, created a team of conservation architects, got together urban planners, and today it's become a big project where even Prime Minister Modi mentioned about this in his Mann Ki Baat. So imagine from a garbage story to a water story today, and how our development is never connected with water stories is really my whole journey about, and how to connect back and how to create this connect with, water and development, which is so essential. This is such a missing piece in our lives today. We are ignoring this for a long time. And if we further ignore it, I don't know what is the future that we give to future generations. So My story started here. I did my architecture in Bangalore, and I was very interested in interior design. So when I moved to US, I also did my diploma in interiors, and also I'm part of various art societies. So nature, color, elements in nature was always there in my design, but not the way I look at it today. So building this sustainable home was key to my journey. So 12 years ago, we made this sustainable home, which is not dependent on tankers, which has grey recycling. So as an individual, what can I do for water? You know, because I found E. coli in the tanker water that we got. We were giving our elders and our children in the family, and in the municipal water, too much of chlorine sometimes that has damaging effect on our body. So these things were like a trigger to me. Why are we even dependent on tankers? What isn't there another solution? What about rainwater harvesting? What about rainwater? What about grey recycling? So this is how my journey began. Slowly, I started integrating or seeding this action in my own projects that I was doing for various people. These were design projects, but slowly the design studio started transforming into a water conservation studio. We started finding out methods on how to do rainwater harvesting in challenging spaces, how to bring rainwater innovation to rainwater harvesting, which has never been done. You know, rainwater harvesting is always done in the same way we've done for years and years, and there's not been any innovation. And I also understood, working on ground, that rainwater harvesting is not a cookie cutter solution. It's very site specific, and the strata is different, the catchment is different, the kind of water that we receive, the rainfall, everything matters to create a rainwater harvesting. And how to create maintenance free systems, because 80% of the pits today in any city has failed simply because people don't maintain it. So what are these gaps? So I understood, working as an NGO, leading efforts for an NGO for 6 to 8 years before I started this social enterprise. Understood the gaps and started solving them as an enterprise. I realized an enterprise is essential for me to outreach to all the public space transformations that can happen, and also reach out to, you know, faculties like builders and just provide solutions for any typology of building. So working as a designer, I started slowly integrating this work in my own realm of things that I was doing. And this is a small lake I picked up, because lakes are beautiful catchments for rainwater, but our lakes are in a sad shape. They're filled with sewage. Communities don't care. Government doesn't care. And there's no solution to this, because more than 70% of our sewage in most of our cities are not treated. They're all in our water bodies. So what are these solutions? How can we, build a solution involving communities? So talking to communities, involving them, drawing up a plan as an NGO, and then understanding the ownerships of these water bodies was so critical, because there were so many ownerships. You know, there were like 5-6 departments I had to outreach to work for this. So how to connect communities to these water bodies, and started, you know, understanding in crux, why is water so important? You know, it became so important for me. The more I dwelled deeper, I started understanding more issues, problems, and how our population is doubling up in the next 30 years. Where is the water? Our development is going to go double. Look at the state of our urban water bodies. And as a heritage city, Hyderabad has so many wells and step wells. Almost all of them are in, you know, garbage-filled areas today, like I showed you the first picture. And most of our groundwater is overmined or extracted. You just heard it earlier too. And then the kind of urban flooding, we are not able to break the cycle of urban flooding in monsoons and not having water in summers. What is that solution? While everyone is doing research, there are many papers, there are many people talking, there are many people, thinkers. What I felt is doing is important, right? Where are the doers? You know, we need to be enablers. We need to become doers to have some solutions, to bring some solutions to this. This is what I understood in crux, that there's a huge amount of lack of awareness, there's lack of strict implementation by the government, and lack of end-to-end service providers, you know, who do it scientifically, who do it logically, who bring a proper solution to you. These are gaps that are not there. that are missing. And the experiments I did with water bodies, got a lot of learnings to me, that I was able to move, sewage lines out of the lake with communities surrounding, which the builders had actually directly put it in the water bodies. Instantly, 30–40% of pollution in that lake disappeared, and it started looking like a cleaner lake. Even before going to water quality treatment, this simple action with communities, and building awareness with communities, that's when I realized communities are a very essential thread when it comes to sustainable action for water. You need to work with localities, because I did work initially at the macro level, working with the MD Water Board and principal secretaries and such, drawing up a plan for the city, a 60-day plan, a 80-day plan, and that. But many things fell apart in places, and there were so many layers to understand, the political system, the bureaucrats, how things work and how to move things. It didn't seem possible. But I was creating winning stories in small localities that I picked up. Like a lake restoration connected me to 20,000 people around the lake. And I had these people who started building trust in me. Initially, everyone questioned. From zero support, I was able to get 20,000 people to hear me out. And what kind of rainwater harvesting? Because around the lake is where flooding happens, urban flooding happens. So how to create those solutions? And I started slowly connecting with RWAs, schools, slums, religious institutions, hospitals, hotels. So every typology of building needs to conserve water and go zero discharge. This is something I started propagating, talking to communities, and also coming up with an action plan for a local situation, how to create local water security, how to reduce urban floods, how to reduce pollution in those zones, because huge amount of rainwater that goes on the roads not only creates urban floods, but also mixes with sewage, and you have a pool of sewage to deal with. That is, we are getting pathogens to our homes and creating diseases and creating more dangerous situations. And the kind of buildings that we have done, encroached lakes, encroached step wells. So these artificial systems that need to be built zone by zone needs to be understood. So we did small case studies of different areas and understood that only rainwater is enough to sustain that whole zone, that many rooftops, that much of rainfall that we receive. But then we are dependent on, each zone. We spend crores of rupees on tanker buying, not realizing the potential of rainfall. And what are the winning, stories in each of those zones? So while I was working on a lake and working on different projects, pulling up, recharging by then about 200 to 300 bore wells, and created some interesting, inspiring stories, I also understood that the problem is much, much bigger, and how to solve it at a citywide, with a citywide approach at a local level. How do I solve this? So I understood that I have to create replicable models, and broke down the city of Hyderabad into smaller, micro watersheds with, a startup from IIIT Hyderabad, like a rainwater project, the company I founded. We are also part of that. We are incubated by IIIT Hyderabad. So they helped us break down into smaller localities. I said, give it to me in smaller localities where whatever effort we do, we see a change in that locality. So this was a story from Milan. I picked up and I worked on this block by block effort, where we can create replicable model. And this model can be worked upon in anywhere, even across the country. So when you take a block, typically these are the issues, or this is the type of waters that we find, and how to address them in each of this. So also mapping where to do rainwater harvesting, what are the recharge zones, what are the places where we can, where is those discharge zones, where are those recharge zones, and what are the challenges on ground. So again, you visit with communities, get them to, do this public participatory action, where we bring funds and grants and get them to do a few rainwater harvesting, injecting bore pits where we do some, and together they have to maintain all of this. So creating such sort of MOUs with these RWAs, how do we create action to tap clean water before it gets onto the main roads. Within communities, large communities, what are those systems we created? And soon we could see a big change. Many of these presidents of colonies came up to us and told us that there's a beautiful water, and there's so many borewells that we're not working is working. Otherwise, these lakhs and crores of liters used to go as urban floods. So when you take a block, this is the first block that we worked on, lake restoration, well restoration, and working with different typologies, including the slum and lower income groups, and how we created systems where garbage doesn't enter lakes. How did we innovate many things for water in that one zone, and we saw a big change that is happening. You can see the restoration, and you can see how we started creating cleaner catchments for water. While we started working with larger projects for industries, for institutions, for hotels, and we started on this mission that 1 billion liters of water into the ground in a few months. And we've already crossed almost touching 1 billion liters now, doing in several industries and bringing innovation to this. While we were doing this, we thought many of the wells that we have in the city are disappearing, right? I'm also part of the Hyderabad Design Forum, where last 4 years we're trying to find step wells in Telangana, and we are documenting it in a book called The Lost Step Wells of Telangana. From that, in that group, I learned a lot about traditional water systems and how they are so relevant even today. Because these were closing up at a fast pace, we thought we should take it up on a war footing. So in the last 2 years, we've been able to restore 10 wells from garbage to functional wells today. And we've connected rooftops like this one, the one that you see here. The top middle picture says how the well was. You couldn't even see that it's a well. And today it has lakhs of liters of water. And the masjid that's connected to it, we made the masjid take ownership for this well. They are protecting this well today. And also the rooftop masjid water goes into this well, and a madrasa and a house nearby. All this clean water gets into the well. So it's become a sustainable model where we are telling them that you are water intensive as a masjid. There's 3,000 people visit you, and this is the amount of water you use, and your bore wells are inefficient and poor quality. Now we've restored the well, and both the bore wells started working very well. So how you can keep your rooftop water from the masjid and make this well sustainable. So they are happy with the outcome, and they've taken ownership of taking care of the well. Also creating the footprint for this well, because absolutely no drawings, nothing. So these are not geotagged, nobody knows about them. So we started writing books on each of the well restorations that we did, and understanding today's context. Like we did a seating around this well, so that elders who go to the graveyard right next door stand there for more than half an hour, 40 minutes in prayers. Now they can sit and offer prayers. So we designed it in such a way that in today's context, how does it work? So this is the Goshala. There are about 2,000 cows here, but they were buying tanker water. We connected all the rooftop sheds to wells they had, and we desilted those wells. And today they don't buy a single tanker. These are wells which we've restored, abandoned wells on the streets, and we've created a system where it catches the storm water from the roads, it filters, and it indirectly it is helping recharge the well. We do not directly put the water into the well. But this has helped recharge a large community of 800 to 1,000 flats that were coming up. The builder was so impressed that he asked him to go zero discharge and made him do injection rainwater pits. And we've sort of created the Goshala, the large 1,000 unit community, and the well together, like putting pieces of the puzzle together and creating an awareness for groundwater with an action. It's not just broadcasting awareness, but showcasing these stories in different zones and telling that if you did this is the impact. So if you see the well restoration here, through the floods, and just before floods, we picked this up in COVID, and we restored it. And through the floods, this well was able to restore more than 35 lakh liters from the adjacent roads, and it has improved groundwater in a big way. Otherwise, that few lakh liters of water would have been on the road as urban flood. So we started showcasing these projects as collection points for stormwater today. and also creating rain gardens around them. And how, I mean, coming from a designer front, these are advantages, like we can rethink this space, how it can never ever go back to garbage, and creating these small amphitheaters where small events can happen, some sort of eco-friendly events can happen, how a rain garden can help improve. So this is the well, which the first picture that I showed you. It's a beautiful well, 53 feet in garbage for 42 years. It took me months to convince the government to open it up, but such a beautiful structure, and we've put a team of conservation architects. This will be inaugurated in August 15th this year. It's and I'm also working with collectors in peri-urban areas to restore wells, because there are more than 450 heritage step wells across Telangana, and we are also showcasing it as heritage or culture centers. We organize these events where they did the Batkama, the famous floral event that we celebrate in Telangana, and also have like dance shows and events there. About 3,000 people from the district came, and today they are upholding this well like a cultural center for them. So creating these kind of stories, connecting back people to water. That's what people did in those days. Our grandfathers were connected to wells or rivers. They looked upon to them as gods, and they really took care of them. But today we have a garbage filled well right in front of our house. We don't care, because we are only connected to the tap and tanker. How should we connect people back to the source? Is that source sustainability is a language we lost today. That is what we are trying to work towards, making parks into rainwater harvesting zones, working along polluting water bodies, how we can make these retention ponds where we don't wipe out a slum every time there is a flood or a monsoon, and how we can create interesting rainwater harvesting under flyovers, which we really, monsoon after monsoon, we lose lakhs and lakhs of liters of water, and how we work with municipalities and connecting with local champions and giving them the social auditor kind of a card from the municipality. So they go inspect their own zone, and they collect information, and we give a collected information to the, make maps and give it to the municipality, so that the municipality can drive action in those zones. So, and also, getting plumbers to be ambassadors for the cause for rainwater harvesting, how we can train a number of them, and they can make it their livelihood, and they are connected to people, so they can become ambassadors for this cause, while we focus on larger rainwater harvesting resources. So that's pretty much my presentation. But what I would like to say is, while we are thinking a lot, doing is very important in our country today. How do we make that change on ground is something I took up, and I'm very proud to say that I have been honored by Prime Minister Modi a couple of times. And it's not just the honor that pushes us to do more, but also the change that I see on ground every day inspires me. Today, we are enabling another 20 well restorations. We are trying to do a lot of rainwater harvesting, giving people an inspiration, and getting them innovation on ground, connecting all the way up to the Ministry of Urban Affairs, where they have picked our social enterprise to pilot a project in Hyderabad. So these are great outcomes, but I started alone as a citizen. How to solve my own, problem of, and how do I create sustainability, not just in theory, but how to make it happen on ground. I did it as an individual home, then our community, then, work towards what I'm doing today. So thank you so much for the patience and listening to me.
Thank you, Kalpana. It was wonderful, Grace. And I would request Paramjit, now you can put her biodata again on the screen. People will enjoy it at this moment. What she wanted to do for the society, and what she has got in turn. I think the real awards are all this happenings. This tanker has stopped. So many wells have been restored. So these are the real awards or rewards for her. So I would request once more to put her biodata on the screen and keep for 1 minute so that people can go through them. Though we are running short of time, I know. And after this, we'll be going to have a video show. I think Suparna will take care of that. But before that, you put her biodata screen once more. Yeah. Any specific point you wanted to highlight in your biodata, Kalpana?
Not really. I would just want to say this much that
At the end, you can go where she has given her awards and honors. Yeah, just scroll down. The most important point which I could see is that you are working block by block, from there to community, then to government. This is the right way to proceed, and people must learn from this way.
Because I really think while top-down approach is important, the bottom-up approach is also very, very
also very important.
Because this is very important for sustainability, that we tie in everybody. Earlier, I never used to believe working with politicians, but today I think that if you can show a winning story to them, you can even bring politicians into this game to achieve something for water in every zone is what I think. So I think we should make it very inclusive, and that's how sustainable stories can happen and can be created, and it will be a long-term thing that you put down on ground.
Great, Kalpana.